The next item on our program is Measure A. Speaking in favor of Measure A today will be Larry Rebecchi, and speaking against will be Bob Tiffany. The two of you will be given 30 seconds for an introductory statement and then a minute and a half to answer our questions. So we'll start with the introductory statements, and Larry, you'll go first.
What, do you want to give a background on this? Or?
Any kind of an introductory statement you want to make
Okay,
for 30 seconds.
Yeah, I'd like to start off background where I was born in Fresno County and raised in Fresno County, where my maternal grandparents were farmers and my paternal grandparents were business people. I've been in San Benito County for 50 years. I'll be 50 years March 10th, and I'm looking forward to celebrating 50 years. I was a school teacher for 34 years. My wife, Margaret, probably the best thing that happened to me when I came to San Benito County. I met her. She also taught for 34 years.
Okay, Larry,
I've served as president.
That's time for now, Larry. Thank you.
Okay.
If you have more to add, you can squeeze it in later, please. All right, Bob, a 30-second introductory statement, please.
I'm Bob Tiffany. I'm a longtime resident that comes from a local group that soundly defeated this, basically the same measure 2 years ago. I'm going to ask you questions. Is A needed to protect farmland and agriculture? No. Will A slow housing growth and improve traffic? No. Will A kill all commercial development in the unincorporated areas in the county? Yes. I urge you to vote no on A. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, on to our questions. Larry, you'll be answering the first question. The Pro-Measure A campaign literature describes the organization as a local grassroots group. However, major funding is from individuals who have made their fortunes in Silicon Valley, about $100,000, and from a Walnut Creek organization called Save Mount Diablo in the amount of about $40,000. Why should San Benito voters consider these non-local sources as having our best interest at heart?
Well, the thing is, I think the opposition in the past, especially in Measure Q, have received outside money. And we're grassroots, basically, but we don't have the money that the developers have. A lot of the money supporting Measure or against Measure A comes from developers. And that's the problem, I think, with the situation. We don't have a lot of money, so we have to look for outside sources. And they also, the developers are outside sources. And some of it is even foreign service. It's been funneled down through organizations that are interested in real estate than the developers. They have much more money than we do. I think the problem with revenue is that we just have not charged enough impact fees. And this is why we have bond issues, like for the high school, for roads. And you, the people in the audience, are paying for this because the developers didn't pay impact fees. They were discounted. Our local politicians have sold out to the developers. And that's the bottom line. You're going to pay for it with bond issues for roads and for schools. And it's a shame that that's what happens. They pass it on to us, the taxpayers in the county.
Thank you. Bob Tiffany, following up on that, a similar question for you. You've identified your organization as, quote, Neighbors to Preserve San Benito, farmers, local merchants, and working families, unquote. However, records show you've received about $50,000 in funding from state and national realtor groups. Why should San Benito voters consider these non-local sources as having our best interests at heart?
Yeah, thank you. First of all, I want to emphasize that we are neighbors. Virtually all the people that I work with in Neighbors to Preserve San Benito County are local people, and the people that we work closely with are local farmers and ranchers and educators and law enforcement, et cetera. As far as the real estate money, what I want to emphasize is that money, yes, did we get money from outside of the county, Realtor Association, but all of that money was upon the request of local realtors. The local realtors are active in the community in a variety of ways, and so they've reached out outside of the community because, as was just stated, there's not a lot of money in this community. So they have reached outside the community, yes, but it's upon the request of the local people. Realtors, realtors are small business people just like anyone else. And the reality is that they want to do what's best for the community, and they see A as being devastating to the business community, and we'll get more into that later. So that's why they are actively involved in raising money to defeat this initiative. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next question. Once again, Larry, you'll go first on this one. If passed, Measure A would essentially remove the revenue potential of the commercial nodes along 101. There have been indications that owners of the designated nodes would sue the county because of potential lost income. How do you address this potential cost to the county?
Well, in the first place, a lot of the residents that live along the 101, the Aromas residents, some of them don't support Measure A, and some of them do, but I'm surprised that a lot of them don't want truck stops near Anzar High School. They don't want that. We have designated places here in the county, in the city. We have an industrial park. We have an airport. It's already zoned. It's already zoned for commercial. We do need commercial. We don't need houses. We got plenty of houses. We need commercial. We need jobs for people. And I think the proper place is where it's zoned, in the industrial area near the airport. That's where Amazon is building its second site, and that's the proper place for industrial. And I think there needs to be more revenue sharing between the city and the county, because if we live in the city, we live in the county. And I think there needs to be more cooperation between the city and the county in sharing revenue, because we're all San Benito County residents. I don't care if you live in San Juan Bautista, you live in Tres Pinos, we're all part of the same county. So the revenue sharing is a thing that I would push, and also locate commercial in designated zones, not in agricultural land.
Okay, thank you. Next question, Bob. Measure A taps into a couple current hot button issues. Anger about heavy traffic on Highway 101 and Highway 25, and in general, mistrust in the governmental processes that have gotten us to this point. What has gone wrong with these processes in the past, and how can it be fixed?
Well, I will address that question, but let me just respond on this, because this is absolutely critical that everyone understands this about A. A only applies to the unincorporated areas of the county. It does not apply to the city of Hollister. So the commercial development that takes place in the city of Hollister, for example, Amazon goes to the city. It does not go to the county. The county is a relatively poor county. It needs commercial development. I agree that I'd like to see more sharing, but the reality is it needs more commercial development in the unincorporated areas of the county. A targets specifically that commercial development. That's why it will kill it and have a chilling effect on business in our community, which affects revenue. And revenue, guess what? If you don't have the revenue, you can't fix your roads, you can't provide the services that we need to provide. To answer the question about tapping into 25 and 101, the anger, absolutely, everyone's angry about traffic. 25 was built many, many years ago as really just a rural two-lane road, and it's not in a position to handle the kind of commute traffic we have. But we do need to go through the process. There is a process. It's a long one, and I'm particularly familiar with it. But we will get it done. 156 is getting done. 25 will get done. I'm confident.
Thank you. Okay, Bob, you'll take the next question. There's a sense in the community that current practices, revenue-raising practices, have not been working. If increased tourism isn't the answer to the county's revenue problems, what is?
Well, I would agree that we need more tourism, but A is not the way to get there. What A says is basically, if it passes, any rezoning of ag, rangeland, or rural land in the county, unincorporated areas county, has to go to a vote of the people. That's after going through all the EIR process, et cetera. So let's say a vineyard wants to put in a small boutique hotel in South County. They're going to have to go through the whole process and go to a vote of the people. I guarantee you, I've been in business for years, no business will do that. That's why it will kill business. So what I would say is, yeah, we have to work on tourism, absolutely. But we really need the immediacy of sales tax that comes from businesses. That's why, these 4 nodes along 101 are so critical. I doubt there is a county in the state, there's 58 of us, that has a road, has property on a major thoroughfare like 101 and does not have commercial development to take advantage of that. We're talking about existing traffic. We're not adding to the traffic. This is traffic that's already on 101. And for those of us who are in this area, having a gas station that will bring in sales tax, that will help provide revenues for the county, is a good solution. Thank you.
All right. Larry Rebecchi, next question for you. And this question was submitted from our community. Your campaign has said that tourism will provide the revenue the county needs with the passage of Measure A. How much do you think it would cost to repair and rebuild all the county roads, stabilize our hospital situation, make sure law enforcement and fire can serve the whole county, and can tourism create that much revenue?
Well, no, tourism can't create that much revenue. It's obvious, we have a minimal amount of tourism. We want to promote tourism, and that's not the centerpiece of the initiative. Well, we're not discouraging commercial growth. We want it, but we want it in designated zones. We don't want it in areas that have been redesignated from rangeland or farmland. It gets back to this, basically. The community needs to know we've been sold out to the developers. They have not paid the impact fees for years and years. They should have. If the impact fees were there like they should have been, we would be much better off to support our police, our firemen, our roads, etc. They come back and they tell us we're broke. I'm tired of hearing that from our county supervisors and for our city council. You have to charge the developers a decent impact fee, and you need to index it to the rate of inflation. A lot of us are on Social Security. If there's inflation, they index it. You have to index your impact fees to inflation. Otherwise, you're behind the 8 ball. You're never going to catch up. That's the truth. That's the whole truth. They're hiding it. They're in bed with the developers. That's the bottom line.
Thank you. Larry Rebecchi, next question to you. Measure A would restrict the growth of the local landfill. Discuss the ramifications, economic, environmental, and so on, of this.
Well,
that's to Larry. The questions were done randomly, the order of the questions. You'll have there'll be a closing time when you can say whatever you want.
This is something that I worked on. I helped in the landfills question. The ramifications, well, to begin with, the county gave discounted rates to out-of-county garbage. Discounted rates. They were paying less than the residents of the county. And some of your past supervisors will admit to that. Discounted for garbage, and who knows how toxic that garbage is. Who's out there inspecting it when they bring it in from Silicon Valley? There are a lot of chemicals. Eventually, I won't be here, but my children or my grandchildren will be here. That's going to percolate into the groundwater. We live downhill. We have Mount Basura, Garbage Mountain. That's going to be in one of the highest peaks in the Diablo Range if we keep dumping garbage there. And we're not talking about residential San Benito County residents. We're talking about garbage from out of town, out of county, that's discounted. That's the environmental reality. They missed the boat. They should never have allowed it to expand, and it's on hold, and hopefully in the future that you will keep it on hold. We don't want that garbage.
All right. Bob, Tiffany, essentially the same question to you. Please discuss the ramifications of the passage of Measure A on the landfill.
Well, what I would say is that if you want to stop the landfill, then have an initiative specific on the landfill. Don't try to stop all commercial development in the unincorporated areas of the county. There has been, and I know we can talk about developers, but I can tell you I was on the Board of Supervisors in 21 and 22. The last project that was approved for the unincorporated areas of the county itself, was before I got on the board. So it has been, going on 4 years plus since there was something approved in the county. Development is not happening just like crazy in the county. That's why the supervisors in 2015 with the general plan, they had identified commercial nodes throughout the county where it made sense to build commercial businesses to get revenue. They looked at areas that were not going to pave over ag land. They were areas of major intersections and along 101. That's why they did that. And so what I would say, whatever you feel about the landfill, then fine, focus on the landfill, but don't kill all commercial development throughout the entire county, which is what this is going to do. And so I would urge you, this is a sledgehammer of an initiative.
All right. Thank you. We'll now take questions from the audience, if there are any. 3 to 5 questions from audience members. Can you please line up at the lectern over here? Just a reminder, please keep your questions brief. Make sure it's a question, and identify yourself.
Hi, James Connor, and I'm a resident here for about 30 years. I've had the pleasure of traveling the world, working in Silicon Valley and working in the real estate groups. And so as they've developed all over the world, and you said that you're hoping that this would not impact people coming here. You said we do need economic development. We need it in the city, right? Because that's how we're going to pay for things. So are you sure that A is not going to stop people from coming? Because I will say as somebody who knows that it will, because it's predictability. So can you tell me, number one, are you sure that this isn't going to stop people from coming here? Okay. Number two, already know that it is going to have an impact, some of an impact. How much? And if that happens, how are you going to backfill that?
You.
Okay.
You can respond. Larry, Rebecchi, you can both
Yeah,
respond. If
well,
you want.
residents of San Benito County need to know that there are close to 2,000 building permits out there that haven't been built out. We are suffering from roads that are congested, schools that are crowded. Those 2,000 permits, once they're built out, they're going to create a lot of problems. Now, Mr. Tiffany here says that they're going to widen 25. That's not going to solve the problem. They're completing 156. That's not going to solve the problem. When you get to the 101, it's going to be a parking lot. It's going to be a parking lot at 101. You know, because since Monterey County is growing, we're growing, our infrastructure can't handle this. Those 2,000 permits, they'll be built out. There'll be homes for future people coming in. But we need to catch up. Our infrastructure needs to catch up. We need to stop reaching out from the city into the county, giving them service to San Juan Oaks at discounted rates,
right.
once again.
Thank you, Larry.
Discounted rates.
We had a
for
malfunction
sewer.
with our timer there. We're giving you each a minute to respond to the questions. Our apologies for the malfunction, though. Bob, would you like
Go
to
ahead.
reply to that? Bob, Tiffany?
Yeah, okay, a couple of points. First of all, the way that long-term you solve the problem, or at least address the problem as far as traffic on 25, number one, we do have to expand 25, but number two, we need more local jobs. We need more local jobs, okay? And so pulling off some of those people that would otherwise go to Silicon Valley, they can stay local. Measure A, again, will not only kill development in unincorporated areas of the county, but as the speaker kind of referenced, I can guarantee you it will give a chilling effect on the entire community. People outside of San Diego County are going to know about this, and it will affect businesses coming in to the city of Hollister as well as San Diego County. So, that's why this is such, a critical measure that we have to defeat.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next question. Identify yourself first, please.
My name is Barbara Tadeo, and I live off of John Smith Road. And this is directed directly to Tiffany. Okay, you were our supervisor out there for a while. You had told us that the dump money would be used to repair the roads. Frankly, I'm sick and tired, as are many people in this county, about having our cars ruined by the potholes. Second of all, I've lived in this county for almost 20 years. What I'm trying to say, if you'll listen, please.
All right. First of all, if somebody's asking a question, I'm going to
Yes.
ask that you don't interrupt them. Secondly, when you come up to ask a question,
This is
please,
my
please
question.
ask a question.
This is my question, okay? Why is the money not taken from developers? This is the first county I've ever lived in where we haven't had a decent recreation center. We don't even have a rec center. We don't even have a decent senior center, but we were promised this years ago.
Okay, Bob.
And that's my question. Why are
question
the
is-
developers not paying their dues to do these repairs? County, recreation center, senior center, et cetera, et cetera.
Bob, that question was directed at you.
All right, I can't speak to all the developments in the past. Like I said, the entire time I was on the board, there was no development agreement or no development that we approved. But I will say this, is that I'm sure that there have been mistakes in the past. I can think of some where we should have gotten more money from the developers. But by law, you can only impact the developer based on the impact that developer is having. So that's why you see a road improvement, let's say on Fairview, right in front of where the development is taking place, but you don't see it further down. That's a state law. You can't change that. So you need to recognize that is the case. But again, I can tell you that the long-term solution is to get business to come in here. Okay, we can argue about the landfill, we can argue about the residential growth, and by the way, 90% of it takes place in the city of Hollister, but we shouldn't argue about the commercial development in the unincorporated areas of the county, and this will kill it.
Thank you, Bob. Larry, the question was directed at Bob Tiffany. I don't know if you want to respond, or should we just go on?
No, I just think that we feel that commercial is needed, and I feel like Bob feels it would take a lot of traffic off the road if there were local jobs available. But we think there's designated places, there's proper places for that. I think the airport is ideal. We have an industrial park, that's ideal. We encourage commercial growth. We want to keep people off the road. The roads are horrible, horrible, and we want to have people be able to live and work in the same community. So, I agree with Bob in that respect.
Thank you, Larry. Next question.
Thank you. Elia Salinas. With regards to the nodes on the 101, bringing in revenue, and you want to get rid of them, you say that nothing should be closed. This is Mr. Rebecchi. Nothing should be closed, commercial should be closed to Anzar High School because you want to be protective of them because of the traffic. However, there are 3 major agricultural companies right next door to Anzar High School where large semi-trucks travel on both the roads there at the corner. So how can you, what is your idea to say nothing on 101 because it's dangerous to the school, yet those three major agricultural companies that have major traffic coming through there are okay with it? And then the other question is, I know that you emphasize that you want to do tourism, and you compare this measure is being compared to Napa County, Sonoma County, and Ventura County.
Larry, I'm just going to have to ask you to respond to the first question, please. Yes.
Yeah, the agricultural packing companies that are in that area, yeah, that's a vital source of income, and I, having an agricultural background, I know it's critical to the economy. Those are existing things. When you start adding truck stops, hotels, you're talking about major impacts. That road is already impacted. And when you talk about how are you going to service those areas as far as fire, police, you have to take into consideration that's out of the sphere of influence of the city here, and a lot of the services come from Hollister. So those existing packing houses are great. I support them 100%. But when you add truck stops, you're adding other things, you know. I hate to put down truck drivers because they're a vital part of our economy. But in the same token, you're bringing in another element there next to a high school. You're bringing in potential drug trafficking, potential sex trafficking. Those are potential things. You can do the studies and you can see that. Is that something the residents of Aromas, a lot of them don't want that. They don't want that.
Thanks.
I've talked to residents in Aromas. They don't want that.
Thank you, Larry. You have some kind of a weird mojo working here because every time our timer keeps messing up when you speak. But I think that was about a minute. Bob, Tiffany, we've been giving people a chance to respond. So did you want to say anything about that question?
Yeah, what I would say is, again, this initiative is targeting these 4 commercial nodes on 101 that we were just talking about here. I mean, that's what it's targeting. And, you know, I hate to raise the issue of NIMBYism, but I think that that's a lot of what's going on. And Larry said that Aromas doesn't want them in their backyard. But the reality is you've got 101. I mean, this is a major thoroughfare. The traffic is already there. If you can't take advantage of that traffic, then what can you take advantage of? My background is in business, and I can tell you running the county is just like any other business. You need revenue to pay for expenses. If you don't have enough revenue, you can't pay for expenses. And the expenses are things like dealing with your roads, providing better services to your community. You know, someone gave me this analogy. If you have a leaky roof, that's not the time to quit your job. You need to have revenue to pay for the expenses that you're trying to give to the residents.
Thanks, Bob, Tiffany. I think we have time for 2 more questions. Next, please. Go ahead. Someone? Is there another question?
This question is for...
Can you identify yourself first, please?
Yes. My name is Julio Rodriguez, citizen of San Benito County. My question is, historically, this county has done, I'll just say, be blunt, an abysmal job at negotiating development agreements. You know, we see that with Highway 25 being taken off the Regional Transportation Report. We see that. So going forward, let's just say Measure A doesn't pass. What guarantees us negotiating better deals? Because historically, the county has, like I said, has not done a great job negotiating these fees, negotiating development agreements. We also see another example. We see that with Rancho Santana, where the developer promised, I guess, to donate the land, or it was a miscommunication, or as one supervisor says, it was a gentleman's agreement. I don't think, yeah, thank you.
Well, yeah, thank you. Bob, Tiffany, we'll ask you to reply to that first.
Is this on? First of all, let me correct something. 25 is part of the regional transportation plan, absolutely. As far as again, development agreements in the past, I really can't speak to that, but I can tell you there is a process. Again, there's not been a development agreed upon in the county since 2020. And there is a particular project that I can think of that has been going through the process for over 4 years to get approved. It has not been approved yet. I don't know if it will be approved, but it's been going through the planning department. It's been going through the planning commission. It's gone to the board of supervisors a couple times. That's the process. That's the way it's supposed to work. And I'm confident that the current board can do the things properly. Last comment is if you don't like a decision, there is something called a referendum. You can still do that. Don't pass an initiative that's going to be
Thank
with
you,
us for
Bob.
the rest of our lives.
Thank you. Larry, Rebecchi, you have a reply to that?
Yeah, I think the problem that we've had in the county is that our elected officials have been influenced by money, money, money. And they do favors. They contribute to their campaigns. Some of them go on to get jobs with those corporations. I don't want to name any people, but that's the pattern that has occurred. We have not collected substantial impact fees from developers. That's where the revenue should come from. And the other thing is, you need an initiative, a measure like this, because like Bob says, it locks things in, but it can be amended. It can be amended, or it could have a referendum. It can be amended, but it's going to come from a vote of the people. You people have the power. When you have 5 supervisors there or 5 council members, they have the power.
Thank you, Larry.
They have the power. We don't have the power.
Thank you, Larry. Okay, our last question.
Yes, Valerie Eglund from 129 and 101 intersection. For several years, maybe 10 years, I have been addressing the semi-drivers who go into the ag businesses that are there. I have consulted with their dispatchers and their companies to arrange for parking for these trucks not on the bike lane between San Juan and the Aromas High School, or Anzor High School. So if we are going to have safe passage for truck drivers, to give them rest and respite for their trip home, sometimes across country, to keep our children safe and to keep our highways safe, how do you expect these truckers to have a place to rest if we do not provide a comprehensive style
Larry,
truck area?
Larry, Rebecchi, I think the question was directed at you, so you reply first, please.
Yeah, I think that's a good question. And I think there are truck stops in Salinas, there's truck stops in Gilroy, and there's not much distance between Gilroy and Salinas. We don't need a truck stop there. We don't need it. The amount of revenue that's going to be generated is projected very high, and I don't believe that's going to happen. We're always promised they're going to bring in revenue from a solar farm out in Panoche Valley. I don't think we're getting much revenue from that. We're not getting much revenue. The politicians are always telling us we're going to pay all our bills with these projects. I don't believe it. I believe the problem is when developers come in and you give them the shop, you give them everything, you put the community behind the 8 ball. And that's where we are now. We're in a difficult situation with revenue, but there's other ways to solve it.
Thank you, Larry. All right, now we'll move on to closing statements.
Can I answer that as well?
I'm sorry. Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
My bad, Bob. Go ahead.
No problem. Well, I'd like to say, yeah, we do need truck stops. If you look at Gilroy, you look at Salinas, those are much wealthier areas than we are. And there's a reason, because they have things like truck stops. The other thing I would comment from earlier is that, truckers and other people that work at, service stations and and other kind of businesses like that. Often those are from the lower or middle income. We need more local jobs for working families. And if we kill all commercial development, including those areas that make the most sense, like along 101, we're just not going to, we're never going to see it. So the last thing I'll say is, Larry's talking about the vote of the people. Well, I'll tell you what, 2 years ago, there was a vote of people, and 56% voted no on this very same initiative. So why don't we listen to those, the vote of the people?
Thank you, Bob. Now we'll get to closing statements. You'll have 30 seconds to make your closing statement. Bob, Tiffany, you'll go first.
Okay. Measure A will bring none of the benefits it claims. The only thing it will do, as I've been stating, is kill business development and the revenue, better services, and local jobs it brings to our county. That's why our Native American indigenous people of San Benito oppose it, as do farmers, ranchers, the Farm Bureau, Sheriff Eric Taylor, firefighters, unions, educators, Latinos, working families, business people, and both the local Democratic and Republican parties. A broad coalition is against this. So I urge you to vote no on A. One last comment. At the back, as you leave, there is a letter from
Thank you,
the
Bob, Tiffany.
tribal
Actually, your
chairwoman
time's
and
up there.
indigenous.
So we're going to move on to Larry Rebecchi for his closing statement.
Yeah, I could say that all the people that Bob Tiffany said oppose the initiative, I know people from all those groups who support it. Our schools are crowded. Our roads are in terrible condition. Our commuters are stressed out. Our impact fees are too low. Our politicians are sold out to the developers. Our opponents to Measure A are deceiving the residents
Larry.
of San Benito County.
That's your 30 seconds. Thank you.
Well, okay.
All right. So that'll conclude our presentation on Measure A. Hope you enjoyed it.